Bill, the problem with this is, as I see it, you have told me that that this was used on Petraeus, this was used on John Allen, this was used on Elliot Spitzer and others. Elliot Spitzer was going after the bank. Somebody with power didn't like that, and they used this system on him. Is that true?
That's what I believe, yes, because of the data they used against him, the emails and the phone calls and the banking transactions.
And that goes again with David Petraeus as well. They used his emails.
Right, his private emails.
Right, and same with John.
It wasn't on the. It wasn't. He wasn't. They weren't dealing with emails passed on government machines.
Mm-hmm. And the same with John Allen.
Yes.
Same with, right.
Which meant they had to have access to content.
Right.
What'd you say?
They had to have access to content, Glenn.
Which means
well, we knew they were collecting. We knew they were collecting content on Americans, all of them, from at least 2003.
Okay. Which means they're lying to us again because they're saying that they don't collect content. General,
right.
Were they collecting content when you were in the intelligence community?
Based on my discussions with the director of NSA, they were not collecting content. It was only metadata, and then they were doing link analysis.
Okay.
That said, I don't think there's any question that the environment today is one in which they're collecting content, and that content is the content of people that have been targeted.
Well, I mean,
it's not much different than the IRS scandal. They're targeting people, and I think they're collecting content of their emails and even their cell phone communications.
John Allen, his private emails were exposed. General John Allen, David Petraeus, his private emails were exposed. How did they get those? And those are two guys that were telling the American people some things that they didn't want to hear. John Allen came and said that the administration is not telling you the truth. It's worse over here than what they're saying. All of a sudden, his private emails are released. The same thing with Petraeus. Is there any doubt in anybody's mind here that they are using this to target? And is there any belief? And let me take it this way: does anybody here on the panel believe that you can trust these people, any people? Let's say everybody but Jesus is elected in 3.5 years. Anybody believe this system can be safely used in the right hands?
No. I mean, it's just too tempting to take it and use it for leverage against political enemies, like I believe they're doing with the IRS. If you looked into these databases, you could reconstruct the entire Tea Party network. See who was the central figures and who was relating to them, and look at people who were a part of that, and if they were applying for 503cc's or 3Cs or whatever, tax-exempt status, they could flag that immediately and pass that on to the IRS for targeting.
General, you know enough history, a history of war and revolutions. This is exactly the kind of stuff that a revolutionary would kill for, because you want to start a revolution, something goes down. Everybody just disappears because you know exactly who they are, what their leadership is, and where they are.
Look, Glenn, this is right out of, first of all, it's right out of Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky. You isolate your target, and then you pummel that target with everything you have. Secondly, this is very much part of what I consider to be the Marxist model. In other words, you discredit the opposition. You're talking about Petraeus and Allen. Mm-hmm. You discredit those that you see as being problematic or being part of the opposition. And one of the ways you do it is obviously by exposing private elements of their lives. And I'm going to tell you that this is going to get worse unless there is something done about it now. And my assessment is there's not a lot of people in the Congress right now that are taking this seriously enough and are willing to stand up and stop this program.
I will tell you, I'm meeting with several senators and congressmen tomorrow in Washington, D.C., and I plan on raising holy hell. Diane, what can be done? You were in Congress. What should the people do?
Well, I think the first thing they should do is threaten to throw them out, especially the people on the intelligence committees who let this happen. And the leadership of the committees was informed almost immediately, the first month that this went into effect in October of 2001. and they let it go. And I argued with them. I told them that they had taken off the civil liberties protections, which included both encryption of U.S. identities and the tracking of all accesses to the databases and where they went, so it could not be misused. And they just did nothing. And it has blossomed over 12 years, and it is going to be very hard to walk it back at this point.
Okay.
Glenn, this has become a vast, institutionalized Leviathan surveillance system. The government has unchained itself from the very Constitution it is supposed to uphold and defend.
If I remember,
so in the
you
greatest
guys
of
told me,
secrecy, we're seeing it eroded right before us.
you guys told me right last time you were in the studio, and I'm going to take a quick break. You said it's going to be extraordinarily difficult to get the Congress or anybody in Washington to actually break this back. America, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to stand, and it's going to become harder and harder. Thank you very much for joining me. When we come back, a personal note, just a personal note.